morning. My name is Terry Stader. I'm the Veteran Service Officer for the town of Westford. Fire apparatus and honor guards, please come to attention. We begin our remembrance with a fire service tradition that dates back to the mid-1800s. Long before radio, pagers, or fire alarms, daily announcements were sent from headquarters to the firehouses by a system of bells, commands, and telegraph. When a firefighter died in the line of duty, headquarters would transmit in a group of 4-5 bell strikes. This custom has continued throughout the years to this day. It is a form of rendering final honors to the departed comrade. In the fire service, this is known as striking the 4 bells. Captain Dave LaFarve will now sound last call. Will everyone please join me in a moment of silence? Thank you. Deputy Fire Chief Mike Dennehy will now read the firefighter's prayer.
When I am called to duty, God, wherever flames may rage, give me the strength to save a life, whatever be its age. Help me embrace a little child before it is too late, or save an older person from the horror of that fate. Enable me to be alert and to hear the weakness shout, quickly and efficiently put the fire out. I want to fill my calling to give the best in me, to guard my friend and neighbor and protect his property. And if according to your will, I must answer the death's call, bless with your protecting hand my family, one and all.
Thank you, Deputy. At this time, Deputy Police Chief Jim Peliquin will read the police officer's prayer.
Morning, everyone. Lord, I ask for courage to face and conquer my own fears, courage to take me where others will not go. I ask for strength of body to protect others, and strength of spirit to lead others. I ask for dedication to do my job, to do it well, dedication to my community, to keep it safe. Give me, Lord, concern for others who trust me, and compassion for those who need me. And please, Lord, through it all, be at my side.
Thank you, Deputy. Nancy Cook will now be reading the poem One by Cheryl Sawyer. It's in memory of all who perished on that fateful day.
Thank you, Terry. As the soot and dirt and ash rained down, we became one color. As we carried each other down the stairs of burning buildings, we became one class. As we lit candles of weight and hope, we became one generation. As the firefighters and police officers fought their way into the inferno, we became one gender. As we fell to our knees in prayer for strength, we became one faith. As we whispered or shouted words of encouragement, we spoke one language. As we gave our blood in lines a mile long, we became one body. As we mourned together the great loss, we became one family. As we cried tears of grief and loss, we became one soul. As we retell with pride of the sacrifice of our heroes, we became one people. We are one color, one class, one generation, one gender, one faith, one language, one body, one family, one soul, one people. We are the power of one. We are the United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy. At this time, I'd like to introduce a few speakers. Representative Jim Arciero will now speak.
Good morning. It has been 23 years since that fateful day in 2001, when events in New York City, Arlington, Virginia, and Shanksville, Pennsylvania would change the United States of America forever. That dark day, when nearly 3,000 Americans would perish in unthinkable ways, when buildings we thought would last forever would fall in hours, when the center of our military might, the Pentagon, would be struck, and when everyday passengers on an airplane would become American heroes. That tragic day would ultimately lead to 2 decades of war in the Middle East, where thousands of brave American men and women who answered their nation's call to service would sacrifice their lives, and thousands more would be left permanently injured, many with physical and mental injuries that would last a lifetime. On 9/11/2001, the Westford community lost 2 of our own, Susan McKay and James Hayden, who were on the airplanes that crashed into the World Trade Center. Susan McKay was 44 years old and aboard American Airlines Flight 11 when it crashed in the North Tower of the World Trade Center. She left behind a husband and 2 young children when she lost her life that day. James Hayden was 47 years old and aboard United Airlines Flight 175 when it crashed in the South Tower of the World Trade Center. He left behind a wife and 2 teenage children when he passed. 2 decades certainly seem like a long time, but for those families of the victims left behind, their loss and their pain will never recede. We must be mindful that no words of condolences or acts of remembrance can ever fully heal or erase the pain of their personal losses. Still over 2 decades after 9/11, we remain grateful to those courageous Americans in uniform who put themselves in harm's way. When the first responders, police, and firefighters sacrificed their own lives to help people they never met, they never knew. These brave men and women were the first in and led our efforts following these devastating attacks, and were then followed by our armed forces, who took up arms against the perpetrators around the world. We are lucky to have with us today our own Westford first responders, who continue to work to keep us safe each and every day in our community, and our veterans who serve to protect our country and freedom. Can we have a round of applause for our first responders, please? The lessons of 9/11 taught us that we must be ever vigilant. The Westford 9/11 monument before us, that includes part of the World Trade Center recovered from the wreckage of the towers, serves as a permanent reminder of those who perished in these senseless acts of violence. Here in Westford, across Massachusetts, and across the United States of America, we will never forget the lives taken on that day and the many who have passed from the negative health effects and psychological trauma of that infamous day. May God bless you and your families, all those precious souls who were lost on September 11th, 2001, both in the direct attacks and those courageous and brave individuals who responded and went to war to keep us safe. May God bless the United States of America. Thank you. Barry?
Thank you, Jim. At this time, we're Select Board Representative Tom Clay.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jim, for those words, especially the thoughtful remembrance of Westford's own that we lost that day. And Nancy, thank you for that poem. One really spoke to me today. I'm grateful for this beautiful, beautiful day we have. I'm old enough to remember 9/11, and it was a day just like this. When we were standing at the side here before, we were all chatting about that day, how vulnerable we felt, the horror we felt. It really was an experience that brought everyone together, and I think it's important for us to remember. It's important for us to reflect on one of the darkest days in our history. I can't believe 23 years has passed. I remember it so vividly. It's etched into our collective consciousness of the nation. But we take this occasion to come together and pay respects to the victims, honor the heroes, and reaffirm our commitment to the values that make our nation strong. We remember that nearly 3,000 innocent lives were lost. 3,000 lives. Mothers, fathers, sons, daughters, brothers, and sisters who woke up that morning, kissed their loved ones goodbye, and went about their daily routine, unaware of the terror that would soon unfold. These are the people of diverse backgrounds, representing the rich tapestry of America itself. As Jim mentioned, we had two of our own on that flight, Susan McKay and James Hayden. We also remember the bravery and selflessness displayed by the first responders who rushed into the burning buildings without hesitation. Firefighters, police officers, emergency medical personnel, they exemplified the best of humanity in the face of unspeakable horror. Many of them made the ultimate sacrifice, and their memory lives on in our hearts. 343 firefighters, 72 police officers, and 8 EMTs lost their lives that day, and many more were lost in 9/11 related disease and suicide. Those were heroes who ran towards the fire. Probably the best thing about being an elected official in Westford is that we get to represent all of the people of Westford in saying thank you. We are so grateful for the work that you do. You don't hear it often enough. We don't say it loud enough. But I know that there's a grateful community here that values you incredibly, and we're so grateful for everything that you do. The events of 9/11 shook our nation to the core. It tested our resolve, but it also revealed resilience. In the aftermath of that tragic day, we saw strength of the American spirit in communities across the country that came together to support one another. We witnessed acts of kindness, unity, and solidarity that reminded us of the values that bind us as a nation. Here in Westford, we have a special responsibility to uphold those values. We are a community that cherishes diversity, fosters inclusion, and supports one another. Let us continue to be a beacon of hope and tolerance, demonstrating that in the face of diversity, we stand together, undivided by our differences. Thank you, and may we never forget.
Thank you, Tom. We'd like, again, say a special thank you to our guest speakers, to our Westford Police and Fire Department honor guards, as well as our honor guards who are to salute this day of recognition, As we close out our service, Captain Dave LaFarve will sound the alarm bell, the last call, one last time. This completes this morning's service. Once again, thank you today for coming to today's ceremony. Your presence sends a message to all that will remember September 11th, 2001, just as we remember Pearl Harbor, the only other attack on American soil. Thank you.